Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today we see the return of a familiar face. This is Below Average Potato in the USS Maine. This is a technically Tier 10 random battle domination mode here on the trap map. I say technically because only 5 members of each team are actually Tier 10. There's a couple of very unfortunate Tier 9s, one on each team. And there are only actually 9 players per team rather than the regular 12, which leads me to suspect that this is happening late night on the North American server. But a full 3 members of each team are in fact tier slightly more than 10 super ships, including of course Below Average Potato himself here in the USS Maine. The matchmaking's actually not that bad, although there is a carrier on each team and they're both super carriers, but there's only 2 destroyers and no submarines. One of the things that makes the USS Maine special is its funny button. Hitting the target with the main battery guns charges up this immediate threat elimination, which basically makes all fires and floods do 65% less damage for 45 seconds, and also gives you plus 25% anti-aircraft firepower. But the thing that really makes the USS Maine special, if you're looking at all those gun turrets, yep, that's it. That's a lot of guns. This thing has 16-inch guns in 4 quad turrets. The basic idea about the USS Maine, which by the way is a complete work of fantasy, but it's a complete work of fantasy from the minds of wargaming, rather than the USS Montana, which the Maine is a development of. And the Montana, of course, the difference there is while it was also a work of complete fantasy, it was a work of complete fantasy from the minds of the US Department of Defense. The Maine is what if the Montana had an extra 4 guns. Well, we're about to find out. Oh, another thing about those guns. If you have a look at the range circle on the minimap, indicating the range, yes, it does cover the entire map. Yes, Below Average Potato does have these guns, and therefore also his surface detection radius when he fires them, blooming out to a range of 28 kilometers. You can do that. Just think about that for a minute. US Navy super heavy 16-inch armor piercing shells with the range of 28 kilometers. That's actually a thing. 16 of them at once. Yeah, I know. Oh, this could be bad. Potato's just attracted the attention of the enemy carrier. And it is, let us not forget, a super carrier. Dive bombers incoming. This may hurt. That really did hurt, actually. That actually hurt quite a bit more than I was expecting, and set a fire, as well as doing nearly 20,000 damage. Ouch. Well, if there can be said to be a good side to being focused by enemy dive bombers, it's the fact that Potato has the Furious skill, which reduces the reload of your guns for every instances of fire and flood on your ship, which at the moment means that his guns are at least reloading 10% faster as long as that fire continues to burn. So I suppose that's a good thing. Of course, by the time that fire burns out, he's going to have taken nearly 30,000 damage from that single airstrike, which is less than good. But it's all high explosive and fire damage, so he can at least heal it back. It is... Yep, the second the fire was about to go out, he gets hit by more high explosive and instantly sets on fire again. So he has used the damage control to take care of that one. He doesn't need the Furious skill that badly right now. And of course, because it was all high explosive and fire damage, he can heal almost all of that back. So it's costing him a charge of his repair party, but it could have been a lot worse. The bad news here is that there is a cyclone closing in, which will reduce visibility to 8 kilometers, and then what price your 28 kilometer range main battery guns then, huh? Surprisingly, we've almost approached the 5-minute mark of this battle. Oh god, no, here comes the carrier again. Yeah, this is probably going to hurt. But nobody's died yet. Even the destroyers are still alive. The friendly Trump's doing a pretty good job up in the cap circle at Charlie there. It looks like he's chased the enemy Kitakazi out and is now flipping Charlie, although unfortunately the reverse is now happening at cap circle Alpha down to the southwest, which Potato's team did control, but which the enemy team are now contesting. They forced the Forest Sherman out, but the Alsace is still hanging on there. Now, those torpedoes from the airstrike have knocked out Potato's engines, and I thought, oh, he's in trouble now. Because, of course, as a battleship, he's... Oh, that was a good hit. That was a very good hit. But as a battleship, he doesn't have access to the last stand skill, so he's basically immobile. And I thought, perfect target, sitting duck for follow-up strikes from the carrier. And yet the carrier is instead... Well, he's going for the tromp. He's being pressured pretty heavily over there, and, well, yeah, I can kind of see the sense of it. It's generally a good idea to focus an enemy destroyer down whenever you get the opportunity. And getting him out of that... Oh, he took a big old hit there. He's getting pressured pretty heavily by the Kitakaze as well. And the Grosser Kurfürst. He's trying to smoke up. Too little, too late. Oh, another good hit on the Grosser Kurfürst. Oh, very good hit. That was a kill. Nice. Of course, a battleship is worth more points than a destroyer. And yes, the scores are reversed. If you look at the scoreboard at the top of the screen, it's showing Potato's team on 291 points and the enemy team on 412 points, with the enemy team's score going up when that's clearly impossible because the enemy team don't have any cap circles. Scores are reversed. It's a replay bug. Potato's team are definitely ahead, and they're going ahead with every passing second because they have 2 cap circles. The enemy team have none. I don't understand why nobody has attempted to flip that central cap at Bravo, but I suspect that situation is not going to remain so for long. More surprisingly, looks like the carrier's... And there he is. Oh, and he doesn't even look like he's moving. That looks like a stationary carrier. 8 16-inch super heavy armor-piercing shells going out. The carrier, rather than switching his attention back to Potato here, is instead going for HMS Devastation up there. 8 shots fired, 7 hits, 16-inch super heavy armor piercing, 7 hits on a carrier, 1 penetration, 6 ricochets. Yes, well, anyway, moving on swiftly. The loss of the friendly Trump has put the Devastation up there to the north in a pretty tricky spot, because he's got a Kitakaze on one side and a carrier and a Montana on the other. The Kitakaze's parked behind one island and is basically farming damage on him, and is almost certainly going to slip into the cap circle at Charlie and flip that. Oh, that was kind of disappointing, only 7,600, but hey, damage is damage. But yeah, the Kitakaze is basically farming some damage on the Devastation over there. From a position of safety, and then as soon as this cyclone closes in, or the Devastation moves out of range, he's almost certainly going to slip into that cap circle at Charlie. So for the moment, that Devastation is having no fun at all. He's got a Kitakaze shooting at him from one side, he's got a Montana and a carrier on the other. I suspect that for the Devastation captain... Ooh, he took a big chunk of a hit there. Oh, and he did a big chunk of damage in return though. He can't wait for that cyclone to close in fast enough. Another beautiful broadside here for Potato to shoot at. And... nice! Okay, justice was done. Well, that's taken some of the pressure off the Devastation over there. Now he's only got a super carrier and a Kitakaze shooting at him. Oh, check out the drive-by over there between the Alsace and the Satsuma. I'm amazed that Alsace survived that one. Well, he's not out of the woods yet. The enemy line has just nailed the Yamato. I mean, Potato's team is still ahead because they've had either 2 or 3 cap circles for most of the game. The Christopher Columbus has taken the central cap. The friendly carrier, the Eagle, is trying to take some pressure off the Devastation by harassing the Kitakaze, allowing the Devastation to continue closing in on the enemy carrier, although he was on kind of low health, but, well, he's got a super heal, so he'll be fine. The Alsace, unfortunately, did not survive the encounter with the Satsuma. He's gone down. We're nearly halfway through the battle. We're at the 11-minute mark. The enemy team have only just gone ahead 1 kill, but they've lagged behind on the cap circles for so long, they're still a good 200 points behind, and it's only now, pretty much as predicted, that the Kitakaze, because it has to be him, is slipping into that northeastern cap circle at Charlie. And there's not a lot that anybody can do about it. Conditions are heavily in favour of the destroyers at the moment, both the Forrest Sherman on Potato's team and the Kitakaze on the enemy team, because with the cyclone now fully closed in, visibility is restricted to a maximum range of 8 kilometres, which means that if Potato wants to shoot at anything, he has to use the minimap. You see what he did there? You can't see the Lion, and to be brutally honest, this was a bit of a Hail Mary, and I'm not really surprised it didn't hit anything, because nobody can see the Lion. Unlike, for example, the Satsuma and the enemy Maine. Look at the mini-map. There you see the Lion's position just updated. They all just got spotted. Well, momentarily at least. Even though Potato can't see them, as long as their position is being reported on the minimap, he can use his aiming pipper on the minimap to put his shots ahead of where those ships are going. It's not a terribly accurate way of firing because you can't actually see the target, you don't get any aim assist, but again, look at the minimap. As the Eagle goes in on a dive bombing run, notice the icons of the targets down there turn from a white outline to a red outline. This is letting us know that they are actually spotted by somebody and those positions are accurate. Again, you don't get any aim assist here because you cannot physically see the target yourself. They're more than 8 kilometers away. But it's better than nothing. Anyway, let's just sum up the bad news now, shall we? The enemy team, as well as being 1 kill ahead, and while they are still 200 points behind, they've now taken Cap Circle Alpha, as well as Cap Circle Charlie, and they are basically flipping the central cap at Bravo. So, not good. Potato trying another blind shot against the Lion that he knows was shooting at him from back there. And, yeah, there we go. He just defended the central cap. He hit a target that he couldn't even see. Sadly, the enemy Lion isn't the only one in that cap circle. The enemy Maine is in there too, so that's not going to be enough of a reset. Hopefully the Christopher Columbus is going to be able to get around there, and although it doesn't look like it, no, they are going to flip that cap. Meanwhile, up to the north, the Devastation has finally got to within spotting range of and has sunk the enemy carrier, so that's fantastic news. He's not going to get the opportunity to celebrate, however. Oh, again, check this out. He can't see the enemy target, but he can certainly see the shell impacts. Gets a salvo out. Is that the enemy Satsuma? It is. The Vermont killed him. Well, if the Vermont hadn't killed him, I'm fairly confident that that salvo from Potato would have. Unfortunately, up to the north, the Devastation doesn't get to celebrate his carrier kill for very long, because even though he has sunk the enemy carrier, despite being in the middle of a raging cyclone, but because let's face it, when have aircraft carriers ever cared about weather conditions? It was still able to launch and recover aircraft. And its torpedo bombers finished off the Devastation. Honestly, this game, man, look, it's not, just repeat after me, it's not a simulation. It's not a simulation. You know, that's the thing about the cyclone mechanic in this game. I do like it. I think it changes things up. It makes you adapt your tactics, which, oh, the enemy Maine just nailed the Christopher Columbus. Yeah, this is bad and getting worse. Oh, you see that up ahead? That's the Wisconsin shooting at the friendly Vermont. Now, the Vermont is not doing well. It doesn't have an awful lot of health. It has very, very little health. He's trying to heal it back up, but, well, the Wisconsin's a dangerous ship. Now, if you're thinking, why isn't Potato using the old minimap aiming trick to shoot at the Wisconsin? That's because he knows that the Wisconsin is about to sail to within 8 kilometers. So he's not going to have to guess if he's just patient. There it is, they've just both spotted each other. It's not a perfect angle, but, well, he's got 16 of these guns, and that was a good healthy chunk of damage. And yes, he's given a broadside, but as long as the Wisconsin's got a low health Vermont to shoot at, and he does, and he's killed him, Potato's going to be pretty safe. Although now the Wisconsin's going to be turning its guns around, and that looks like the Lion shooting at him as well. So he needs to angle against the Wisconsin's guns. And he does take a nasty chunk of damage there. But I'll bet you the Wisconsin is about to as well. Oof, yeah, that'll do it. See, the thing about the Cyclone, again, I do like the mechanic. I think it changes things up and it makes you adapt your tactics, but it does kind of heavily favour destroyers and aircraft carriers. Because a destroyer doesn't really care that visibility is down to 8 kilometers, because most destroyers in the game, except for maybe some of the Russians, have got less than 8 kilometer surface detection range anyway. So they're going to see you before you see them. And they have torpedoes, or at least... Oh, hang on a second, look at that. That is the only cruiser in this game, by the way. And it's almost fully broadside on. 5 ricochets. Yeah, they don't call that thing Battleship Moskva for no reason. And yet, despite that absolute what-the-hell moment, almost as ridiculous as aircraft carriers being able to launch and recover aircraft in the middle of a hurricane, watch what happens now that the Moskva has angled. Just waiting for Potato's guns to reload. Remember, almost full broadside, nothing. Ricochets everywhere. Angled, 27,000 damage. RNGesus giveth, and RNGesus taketh away. The Moskva's now being hammered by the Forrest Sherman. Although he's got his hydro up so he can see the Forrest Sherman. It's not going to make any difference though, is it? He's burning. Yep, he's down. Forrest Sherman took him out. So, the kills are finally even. The Cyclone is beginning to disperse. But the enemy team have had all 3 cap circles for so long that they are now a good 200 points ahead. Potato can now finally actually use the 28-kilometre range on these guns. He goes for the Kitakaze. Unfortunately, he had the armour piercing loaded. But, you know, 16 of them. If enough of them hit, it'll still sink him. Yeah, he clearly knew he was being targeted. He's turned away. I mean, he went to the assistance of the Forrest Sherman because they're both very, very dangerous gunships. And left to their own devices, I wouldn't like to bet on which of them was going to win that. There's the enemy Maine, and it looks like he's shooting at the carrier. So, yeah, having a carrier is a big advantage. And, well, who could resist shooting at a target like that? Come on. Perfect broadside. Yeah, 19,000 damage. It's not great, but we'll take it. Good news, though. The carrier has taken out the Kitakaze with its dive bombers. It looks like the Forrest Sherman is still visible because the Lion is shooting at him. The Maine has to be the priority, however. There go the Eagle's torpedo bombers. Who's the Maine targeting? It doesn't look like he's actually shooting at below average Potato. He may be aiming up for the Forrest Sherman. Again, yeah, and he is. And this does kind of make sense. It's another big old hit. There's the high caliber award. He's up to 226,000 damage done. The Forrest Sherman has very wisely decided, yeah, screw this. I'm not spotting anymore. The Maine, at least, is clearly visible. I'm just going to chill out inside this smoke screen for a bit. Looks like at least 1 torpedo hit there. You've got a feel for the enemy Maine there because he doesn't really have any good targets to shoot at. And there's the Lion. Now this is where things really go badly wrong. At least for below average Potato. The Lion's hit him. He's now got a double fire and he's on 50% health. The carrier and the Forrest Sherman are both pouring it into the enemy Maine. Double fire, 50% health. He's got another opportunity to finish the Maine off here. That's if the dive bombers don't do it, and they didn't. Ooh, go on Forrest Sherman, get him. Or if you don't get him, below average Potato is. Shots are out. I'm pretty sure the Maine is finished. The Maine is finished. But have a look at how many fires below average Potato has right now. That's 4 fires. This is where he presses the funny button. And remember, the combat instruction on this ship reduces the damage of fires and floods by 65%. He activated that, then the damage control came off cooldown. The Lion, with a minute and a half to go on 931 points, all he has to do is stay alive for the next minute and a half and he's won this game. There's the Confederate award. The carrier seals the deal with the torpedoes. And 41 points away from losing with less than a minute and a half to go. Between the 3 of them, the carrier, the Forrest Sherman, and below average Potato in the USS Maine, they snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, killing the last enemy ship. And I think we can safely say that the 3 survivors have earned their place on the scoreboard at the end of that battle. Every single one of them with more than 2,000 base experience. Although you have to, I mean, this was a close battle. Most of the enemy team, all but 2, got more than 1,000 base XP on a defeat. So this was not exactly an episode of a Game of Thrones, but it still came down to a nail-biter ending, and they're the best kind. And I hope you all enjoyed it, because that is it for today. Thank you to Below Average Potato for sending this one in, and congratulations on a well-earned win. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.